Our next question comes from Pito. Scottie Barnes started the season on fire, and it looks like he's taking a leap. If you were the Raptors, would you lean on him being the de facto point guard, or would you look towards trading Siakam and maybe find a guard to pair with him? Good timing on this question. Scottie Barnes absolutely lit it up against the San Antonio Spurs on Sunday night. I've been really impressed with basically everything that he's done. You're not really, they're not channeling it. The offense is still just very wonky, very clumpy at points. But they have decided, and I think rightfully so, because you want to know whether Scottie Barnes is a player around which you can build. They want to know what they have in him. And I think what he has shown offensively, looking a little bit comfortable, reacting to double teams or passing out of traffic, that is valuable information, because this proves to me that he is someone around whom you can build rather than just someone who's going to be part of that build. I'd like to see him ditch, some of the laborious turnarounds, but a lot of them are going in right now. And he's shooting on, by the way, 5.4 3-point attempts per game. He's shooting 42.1%, 56% on his twos. This is still someone I think could stand to get to the rim more, not shy away from contact as much. I don't know how you are upset with his start to the season. Even the defensive effort has been better. You look at the counting stats, you look at tracking, you just watch him. It's just better. 23 points with an average. I don't know if the 2 blocks are going to stick per game. That's something that stands out to me, but 23 and 6, he's averaging almost 10 rebounds per game, by the way, as well. He's playing a ton of minutes. Oh, really 36 and a half. That's light work if you were being coached by Nick Nurse, which you're not. So the pathway forward is, okay, let's absolutely build around Scottie Barnes. I think that this is someone, when I was doing the breakouts, I included him in the 3rd-year leaps rather than the star bound. It was just a way of sort of getting all the players I wanted to talk about in. This is absolutely someone now. When you look at the Mobley and Cunningham and Barnes, all those guys are someone I would bet on making numerous all-star teams right now. Scottie Barnes is fantastic. And so now you know that he is and he might have always been. They didn't include him in KD trade talks. They didn't include him for Damian Lillard. They've always valued him highly. But now you have this information, even amid, a less than stellar start to the season. You know that he is someone who can dictate the terms of your rebuild. Where do you go from here is basically what Pito is asking. I still believe, in theory, that Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes can work together. Pascal Siakam has hit enough of his catch and shoot threes for that to work in theory. I'm more skeptical of it being, when one of the other guards you're going to play sometimes, looking at a Dennis Schroder, is not going to space the floor, and you have Jakob Poeltl who's not going to space the floor. That's where the crunch begins to come in, to where you need to get another, if you want to say an actual point guard type, because Scottie Barnes will do most of the ball handling. You have Siakam there, but if it's going to be Schroder, if it's going to be someone else, you need that spot to get more shooting, or you need to change your primary big in Poeltl. It's a lot easier to change up the guard stuff there. Just finding rim protecting shooters at the 5 spot is, every team would love to do that. So it's unbelievably difficult. And I think that's where the issue comes in, because right now when you're looking at Siakam, his role has changed. He is standing, S. Barahini had pointed this out for SDPN, and it's evident too when you watch it. He's being used more just kind of as a bystander in the corner. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but when you're getting into, how can we still optimize Siakam on the ball? It's not happening right now because the lineups are just so clumpy. Even if he's hitting his threes, even if Barnes is hitting his threes, they're not being defended like they're hitting their threes when they're off the ball. It's just, Siakam is shooting on drives 26.3%. Out of 100 players who have finished at least 25 drives this year, that's 97th. And so that needs to, Siakam, look, he's going to be better. This is someone who has worked within negative spacing before. And I think between Gradey Dick's, and now that I've seen some more of the Raptors, Gradey Dick just being on the floor and being able to move around, that's a breath, as Mike H would say from Discord, of fresh air to see. The Raptors I think they've had higher highs this season than when you look at some of the games that they've played, that Bulls one, and you look at their record where it's 3-4, and you kind of felt at some point, you felt like the world was ending. I think they've had higher highs than I would have expected for a team that still does have a negative point differential, for a team that still needs to be concerned about the half court offense. And if there are going to be Raptors fans in the YouTube comments who are not concerned about the half court offense, more power to you. You're still, for the season, Toronto, it's not as egregious anymore. They've moved up from 30th to now 29th. Portland has the worst half court offense now in the league. Not too surprising when you look at their personnel. So what would I do with Siakam? I mean, it seems like he wants to be in Toronto or just have the right to be a free agent. And so I'm just not willy-nilly going to move him because you probably missed the best time to move him. I just don't know how much he commands as an expiring contract where there's only part of the season left rather than doing this over the offseason when you could have integrated him in training camp and the preseason. But if you're not going to figure out a way to get, and I don't even know who the perfect player to this would be, it feels like the Raptors, if they want to optimize the Scottie Barnes, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam pairing long term, that they need another player. It doesn't need to be a star, but someone who's going to sort of open up a lot of their most used lineup. But you look at the Raptors right now, and they're outscoring opponents by 22 points per 100 possessions when Barnes, Siakam, and Anunoby share the floor. And that's why I'm just reluctant to think along these terms where it's kind of just dead where they stand. And I'm not criticizing, I'm questioning the lineup viability of Schroder and Poeltl with those three. They're a plus 14 points per 100 possession on the season. And the offense has been not thermonuclear, but it's been decidedly above average there. And as you get into some of the lineups that you want to see more of, and we haven't seen Gary Trent Jr. subbed in for Jakob Poeltl, might be a way to go. We haven't seen a ton of that this year. You could try to play like super big at that point. Is Otto Porter Jr. coming in for Poeltl, so you're still on the bigger end there. We haven't seen a ton of that this year. I think it really comes down to, though, if you want Siakam and Barnes to stay long term, it comes down to getting another floor spacer there who could either play the 5 or is just in the backcourt with Scottie Barnes and maybe can defend some point of attack too. I don't know if that's Gary Trent Jr. I think when you're looking at names that become available this year, no one, I feel like the player I'm asking for needs to be a megastar, and the Raptors don't need that if you're keeping Siakam and Barnes. I just find it hard to believe that with Siakam and Anunoby and even Gary Trent Jr. heading towards free agency, I find it a little bit hard to believe that this team is going to remain the same. But I could see they're good enough to where, well, maybe it's another consolidation trade that they're making. I wish I had names. I've been racking my brain for them. The Zach LaVine challenge trade was just semi-interesting. Could you get Zach LaVine without giving up Siakam, Barnes, or Anunoby would be the question at this point. And then it's okay, well, now we're getting interesting. Zach LaVine's your third best player. You have him in I guess I would throw him in for Schroder and just lean into Barnes as the one in those starting lineups. But so LaVine, Anunoby, Siakam, and Barnes is a setup. And then you could, if you wanted to, still play Schroder in that and move Siakam and Anunoby up a spot. Poeltl being, I just think that would be the route I would try to explore, is can we do something where it's that type, it's like an off the dribble 3-point shooter. It's a very good, reliable catch and shoot guy who gives you a little bit more dribble creation than Gary Trent Jr. is going to get tunnel vision at points. And then Gradey Dick, that's just not his bet. As a motion shooter for sure. I think a lot of Raptors fans would hate the idea of LaVine there, but Raptors fans, if you're listening, if you could get LaVine without giving up Siakam, Anunoby, or Barnes. I'm not trying to make this, take all our bad players or players we don't need for Zach LaVine. You're just building it on picks. Chicago decides to rebuild, and it's picks and salary is just the meat and potatoes of the deal. Do you hate that, Raptors fans? I don't. I don't.